Now let's jump into South Allegheny, the Gladiators. And you mentioned earlier how the Gladiators haven't made the playoffs since 2012. They had a dynamic running back last year, Antonio Epps, and he'll graduate. But beside that, the Gladiators bring back a ton of offensive talent. You're talking about Eric Ware coming into his junior season at quarterback. He's one of the quarterbacks we've seen in the Whitfield a lot, where they start as a freshman and just get better and better. And this season could be, maybe his coming out party. Let's talk about a guy like Kavan Markwood at running back. He's the guy that you've been talking to and are excited about. South Allegheny has kind of had a rough go of it the last 9 years, but I think this year might be the one where you look at it and say, man, they could be a playoff team this season. What is it going to take right now for the Gladiators, especially with all that's coming back on offense, to take that next step and really compete for a conference title this year?
Keep the same thing that they were doing. Obviously, you don't have Antonio Epps, which was a great athlete in his own right. But yeah, Kavan Markwood is the one I've been mentioned to. I've talked to him this week. Really excited to see him get out there this season. And the whole Gladiator team to begin with, they had their first winning season last year since 2012. I think they take that, use that as momentum. They were in a bunch of games. A lot of them were close. And look at the numbers they put up against some teams that they should have beat. And the game that comes to mind, yes, I know it was Brownsville, but you kind of open your eyes when you see them put 63 points up on the board. So I really look forward to this team, and I think this team is going to be the closest team we see to Elizabeth Forward all year.
And all season, they didn't lose a game by more than 7 points last season, and that was to Southmoreland, a team that they ended up finishing just below, and that was the second week of the year. But you're looking at a team that the second to last week of the year, they ended up beating playoff team like South Park by a touchdown. They only lost by 5 to the eventual Whitfield runner-ups in Elizabeth Forward. So they're a team where you start to turn some of those close games, and you're looking at a South Allegheny team where they're even like a higher-ranked seed in the Whitfield 3A playoffs, and that's exciting if you're a Gladiators fan for sure. Just looking at their schedule now, I mean, they still have an open date on September 3rd for week 1, but they open up on the road against Sarah Catholic. That's an interesting matchup to me because Sarah Catholic was such a great team in 2A last season, and South Allegheny is on the upswing in 3A. At Ringgold, out Southmoreland, or at Ringgold is an out-of-conference game. They played Deer Lakes near the end of the season to finish up their out-of-conference schedule. But, you're looking at a schedule where they got the Elizabeth Forward Warriors at home and in the Mount Pleasant Vikings at home to finish up the year. And if you're going to want to compete for a higher seed playoff spot, those are the games that you want to have at home. So what are your final takeaways here from the Gladiators?
Yeah, the week 0 matchup's definitely going to be tough at Sarah Catholic. I think Sarah Catholic's one of the best teams in 2A. We'll see. They return a lot of talent, a couple Division I guys as well, and Pharaoh Fisher and Paul Pearson. So those are two guys I'm really looking at for Sarah Catholic. So that'll be a tough one. That's a rivalry game. 2 of the 3 schools in McKeesport area, so that'll be a big one. Ringgold, I think they should handle. And this is another team, we'll say they get a win against Sarah Catholic. They could be undefeated heading into Elizabeth or hosting Elizabeth Forward on October 8th. So it should be really interesting to see how their season plays out, of course. Worst case scenario, I think they have one loss and I get Elizabeth Forward, that being against Sarah Catholic. I think they should handle business against Ringgold, Southmoreland, York, and Brownsville, respectively.
I'm not sure about the Southmoreland game because that is on the road, and that is a team that they definitely had trouble with last season. But I still definitely like their chances in that one. And final question here for this team. We talk about how good Eric Ware could be, how good Kevin Markwood is. When you're looking at the other duos in this conference, could they maybe be the best of what we've seen from other teams?
It's hard for me to go against DeNapoli coming in Brownfield for Elizabeth Forward, but they're right up there. Markwood, he's the returning rusher. Now that he's going to take the place for Antonio Epps. Now, he's not the same player as Antonio Epps, and we're not expecting him to be. He's his own style of runner, and he's going to succeed very well this season. And We'll have to look for Warner to do the same thing at quarterback. But yeah, I think they're right up there as one of the best 1-2 punches. But right now, I'd have to give the edges the best to DiNapoli and Brownfield at Elizabeth Forward.